Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is where we sign up for the cold stuff? Nah. What's up, leagues? Cult intro music? I could probably make that happen. What's up, everybody? The chant reveal. What's up, guys? How you doing? All right, what are we doing today? Are we talking about the new Panama Papers? Because those did so much the last time around. The song does keep getting longer, Zach Black. For good reason. Happy Sunday, Eric. Yeah, I noticed there hasn't been a lot of fucking shit flinging this weekend, which is kind of cool. B of A. Okay, what do we want to talk about B of A? It's a little too big to fail. They will get bailed out if they do. Although Citigroup and JP Morgan like stand to benefit from their downfall. Let's see. They don't look terrible on the daily even. How did they do in after hours? Not the worst. And they ran up hard on Friday. No, Buffett sold all of his bank holdings at the beginning of the year. There really more Panama Papers? Yeah, supposedly. Bullish or bearish this week? I think we're flat another week. I think we get a small bounce off like the 120-day EMA. Hold on. Just zoom in on this. So we got a nice bounce set up here. We dipped below and then came back up and closed out. I guess actually I should show you on the other candlesticks. We actually closed out Friday up. So I think we have a decent shot of a small bounce, but maybe only like 185-ish before we trend back down for the rest of the week. Then the following week, I think we're going to see some kind of interesting movement. Hold on. Is Epic Pen showing up on the... Okay, cool. Yeah, so I think we might test and then kind of just come down, and then the following week start seeing some upward movement here around the 11th. So I think like we'll break out of this wedge sometime in this range. To the upside. It's looking good. We've held the floor really well. And I guess we'll start to see if like this is my first 35-day cycle. So we'll start to see what the effect of that is as we move from this 35-day cycle to this one over here on the 21st. No, my birthday's not October 12th. 160K puts for January. B of A has admitted they were working with hedge funds on short positions and meme stocks. I mean, that probably means that they're not still working with them, right? Although they might be. Well, here's the thing. Like, I've actually been thinking about this a lot myself with the futures theory, right? Like, it looks good. The evidence is there for it. Whether it'll play out or not, like, I'm most likely going to risk some amount of capital in, the faith of my own thesis. But we have several dates here. And I think this one is in fact the most important. How did this get moved? Okay, so this is supposed to be out here on the 11th. 1 second. Let's do 0. And one that starts there goes out to here on the 24th. I think the safest place to buy them is past November 24th, right? Because no matter what, like we have 2 points of confirmation in the data on, right? As we've seen the cycle fail twice. So this window here has 2 data points. And that is last September and last December, right? This on the 24th has happened every single quarter for the last 6 quarters. And this would be the 7th occurrence of it, right? So this one seems to be far more unavoidable than whatever occurs in here. And so I think the safest place to be is out beyond the 24th of November. To like guarantee some kind of returns or, much higher statistical likelihood. Whereas this window, our data set's still small. It's there, but it's small. That's November. This is November 24th right here. I'm not telling anybody my birthday, Smux Fox. But yeah, I think this week is going to be the opportunity to get them. It's either going to be Monday, right? If we come into Monday flat, the thing I'm worried about is that we actually bounce hard this week, right? Like say we bounce and test the upper limit of this, which is around, like just above 190. If that happens, that could spike IV throughout this whole period, right? Especially if we bounce really hard. So I'm a little afraid that like if we don't just kind of trade sideways through this week and we have a little bit of a run up, that IV might price out the further out options because IV is really low right now. And then, if we trade flat, like obviously the end of this week before next week is going to be the ideal time because IV will be even lower. And so I'll be watching like really closely, but it's GameStop. It can move fast. And so, ultimately you might not be able to save the money on the IV, but it'd be cool. Yeah, if it trades flat through Friday, that definitely gives a really good window to get in. Hey, user. Thoughts on US default? Didn't they push this debt ceiling out? Dre Danger Dan? I thought it got pushed out to December. Day trade question. How do you decide how much of your capital to use on any one play? Okay, so there's a lot of factors that can determine that. First of all, your amount of available capital. Back when I was, had like a 25K account, I would be using like, 10, 15 at a time, per play. Once you start getting up higher, and your account's bigger, you really have to start reducing. Like, sometimes I would even the whole account, right, on one trade, because you want all that leverage, right? Um, as your account grows, though, you really do need to consider like slippage, volume in the stock, which is going to matter because like if you buy 10,000 shares of something, it can, and you're affecting change in the market, right? So like your purchase can move a stock especially if it's a low volume, like something low volume. So usually if I'm going to buy a lot of something, I'm that confident in the play, I'll go with options. So as I have less effect on the market price, right? Now if something has a ton of volume, like millions and millions, traded over the course of a day, like your small 10,000 orders not really going to affect things. So that's something you have to consider. You have to consider your own confidence in the play. Back testing helps a lot with that because you have ratios that you figured out how likely, the technical indicator you're looking at is to break out or move up or do what you expect it to do, right? And then you know you have to weigh that against how much capital you're willing to risk. I mean, you have risk limits on that capital, right? So if you're putting down 10,000 and you have a 2% risk, that's what? Oh, you know, that 10,000 may be like 2% or 20% of your portfolio, right? I'm using big numbers here. I understand that like most people aren't going to start with $25,000 accounts. And then there's other things to consider when you're below $25,000 because you have to avoid PDT, and you have to avoid, um, sorry, you have to avoid, I don't know why I can't think of the name of it right now. Uh, GFEs, sorry. So you have to avoid PDT on margin accounts, and on here you have to avoid GFEs. And one way to do that is options. Options, like when you have a smaller account, options can present a greater benefit as they allow you to leverage a smaller amount of capital into more shares. And they also clear in one trading day. They're T+1 to settle, as opposed to stocks, which are T+2. So one of the problems you'll have below 25,000 is this T+2 settlement period. So you kind of have to avoid margin accounts till you're over 25,000 anyway, right? Because PDT is just a fucking nightmare. But with cash accounts, to avoid GFE, like options help. And also when you have such a small amount of capital, you really want to be able to leverage it as much as possible. And the only way to leverage it on a cash account is with options, with derivatives. So I hope that kind of gives you an idea. There's even more factors beyond that as you really start digging into it. But generally for me, it will be confidence that I have in the move, how much risk of my entire portfolio I'm willing to take, and how much risk on that trade I'm willing to take with that percentage of my portfolio. Good buy price for later in the week. I don't know if we'll slip this trend line again, but we might. Anything under 180 is solid, right? That range is still the average price for most shareholders. So 180 down here to 162. Anything in this range is the average price. If it ever dips below 162.50, that's a super good deal, and most likely will lower your cost average. We had a couple days of that like a month ago, back in August, or a month and a half ago. Guybrush from OS. Thanks, JC. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking. Is it's better to have like try to cover. I mean, I'm going to play just this, and I'm going to play out further, looking at November as well. And then if we just rip through this period, then I don't really care about the November one. Like those will also be worth a lot of money, right? And so it won't matter. But I will be playing the shorter and longer time frames. And to play the November one, I figure I might as well go all the way out, right? And just play January, end of January or April 2022, as they're cheap right now. Is your birthday my birthday? I don't know what your birthday is, Jason. I'll find out once you move in, and don't worry, I'll tell no one. Thanks, Smox. Just push funding out to December. Debt ceiling's still not raised. Okay. I mean, so we're still getting the 18th for a possible default. We'll see what happens. A lot of the senators and congress people have, money in the markets they don't want to lose. So, and in other investments, right? And there's other investments that are not so easy to pull out of. So it doesn't benefit any of them to actually default on the debt. They will try to push it to the very last second, but yeah, ultimately it will probably get pushed up. I do think the next few weeks are going to be really bad for trading, because of the market. Its direction is unreliable. It's choppy. Um, I don't like it. If I wasn't doing the stream and just day trading normally, I wouldn't participate for the next few weeks. Just as kind of like a risk warning when the market chops. It can be unpredictable. It can run up quickly. It can drop fast. So being long and or short presents a lot more risk than when the market's following its trend as it should. This is why bear markets are traditionally really hard to trade. Is that the confidence in the market is weak and shaky, and so it's hard to determine volatility and when it's going to break out. Was Thursday a short attack? What happened? Thursday. I don't remember Thursday being anything super significant. Like this. I think this was just correlated with the market drop on that same day. Yeah, I think we came down with the market. Obviously, shorts took advantage of that and shorted what they could, but we came back really hard. We're still not entirely sure what happened there with the run up. I think that we were 2 days off of that T plus 69 cycle, right? Because it assumes an average number of trading days at like 23, but that's always the case because of holidays. Or 20, I think it was 21 is what it assumed, like a 42-day trading cycle. But yeah, there's probably a T plus 2 settlement on that. So that might have actually been some of that volume that we expected to see on, what was it, Tuesday? Was the T plus 69 day? But I'm not sure. That's not like my model. So I'm not actively tracking that. That's Dr. Gingerballs who does that. Are you selling any more CSP this week? So I sold some last week on the dip right around here just for Friday. I sold them at like 162. Um it went well. This week I mean, like, it probably won't fall below the like 120 EMA, so I expect to hold fairly solid and like above 170. Um but I mean, like, for me, if I fill at 162, I'm happy, right? Like, that's a great, I'm fine with that buy-in. Downside volatility is not super great right now though, so CSPs aren't the best. If I were looking at it, I'd probably look later into the week. We also closed Friday green, which traditionally is really good for Monday and Tuesday. Do you think there's a play to make on Tesla with the news of their quarter 3 vehicle production? So actually, I was talking to Johnny Diamond Hands about this earlier, and I did like a little quick cover of Tesla. Tesla's about to fail this wedge. Oh, wait, I have the wrong candlesticks on. 1 second. So Tesla's failing this wedge. This is the buy signal. This is the risk, and this is the exit, right? So if this fails and bounces, Tesla bounces are traditionally the best. Like, the best play I've found on Tesla is playing bounces on long-term trends. But the issue is there is some pretty significant room for risk, like $25 worth, right? Um, but yeah, I'd be looking here for an entry and a bounce. And then I'd be looking at like 3 to 5 out of the money, as Tesla bounces usually run at least 5 to 10, and then strong bounces usually run about 10 to 30. I've traded Tesla a lot. In my experience, like, bounce plays are the best entries. The issue there is obviously if it slips, it can slip fast. And then, anything longer term than like a weekly trade, I don't like. Tesla super overvalued. Burry knows this, and big institutions are involved, right? So if the market tanks, all of the big institutions own fat chunks of Tesla, and they know it's overvalued, so they will all scramble to get out of it as fast as possible. And so Burry bought like super out of the money puts, right? Because he knows that when this comes down, it's going to come down really fast, because they're going to be trying to outbid each other to get out of their positions, and it's going to create a shitload of IV and tank. I mean, Tesla's like actual valuation probably closer to about 380 at best. So yeah, I mean, it's I don't like holding Tesla as like a long-term buy and hold. I think it's a not that great of a company. There's a lot of competition coming to market, and that's definitely going to bleed the sector. And then additionally, like, there are bigger competitors in that market that can transition and compete with them very quickly. Thanks. Average Joe made it. That's super cool. Do you think when the market crash will get drugged down to make it look like our DD is BS before we rise like the whale tooth phoenix we are? Yeah, GameStop will absolutely crash along with the market. The benefit there is like the short interest, and we expect it to bounce back, right? I don't know how hard they can crash it. It's tough with registered shares now and retail owning so much of the float. Even big sales probably couldn't dip it for very long. And then, also you're creating a situation where shorts are going to compete with each other to get out, right? And that can create its own kind of FOMO on the bounce. Because if it gets cheap enough, right, they're going to try to cover. And if they do, that's going to run the price up, which is going to cause, they're all going to try to compete with each other to cover. And so that's, ultimately going to create a bounce at the low. And that bounce would probably cause FOMO and gamma ramps and accelerated upward price action. You consider an Asian market stream tonight? Maybe if I do the DD at similar time, I might take a look at its open. Although now with the US having its own issues, I think it's going to not correlate so strongly. The market's going to start forgetting Evergrande and, focusing more on the debt ceiling and inflation and the fact that, the Fed's considering tapering. That to my ears sounds like a rake back in capital. Buy 2022 options, let them sit. Small stocks aren't part of any big indexes. Are they less affected by big market moves since they aren't in any index funds that get dragged around? Yeah, they are. But they're affected by other things like micro caps and stuff like that. And most of them are tracked by some index or another. At that point, you're really getting into like OTC stocks, and there's far more risk with those. Are we still thinking FTD data on the 15th will partially support for DRS theory for float protection? I'm still not sold on the idea causing significant effect, at least short term. We'll have to see. So the thing about the FTD scenario with that is like there's probably a point at which enough shares are registered that we start to see an effect. I think if we see any massive spikes in FTDs for the 15th through 30th of September, I think that's going to be related to the futures. If we see a steady, we'll see like there'll be a steady incline of FTDs underlying that, but it won't be like large spikes. So what we're looking for to confirm futures is these large spikes of FTDs, right? We're not looking for like a steady increase over time. And so I think we'll see enough deviation in that data to be able to determine which is which. Now this is fun if I've ever heard, son. I'm sorry, Elon. Is Dr. Gingerballs J-Fresh? He is. Feel free to annoy him about T plus 69. Yeah, great dip buy opportunity for Tesla if it crashes also. But when it crashes, it'll crash hard, and it'll probably take a long time for it to reach its current valuation again. HNT decided to pump like mad, leaving other coins in the dust. Nice. Think about selling CSP on Jimmy's. What are the lowest brackets you think it would crash to? I mean, just make sure wherever you're selling CSPs on GameStop, make sure that that's like a price point that you're willing to buy the stock at, right? Like you have to be willing to spend, 16 grand at, 162. But if you're willing to buy 100 shares at that price, I mean, that's that's a level I've sold them at in the past frequently. As it's below the like retail's cost average, right? Um, but I have sold them when I expected bounces. So right in this window, I sold some right here. Um, I sold them through this entire period here and at different points through here on weeklies. I never sold any long-term time frame ones. They've always been weekly. Um, GameStop's floor is pretty solid and constantly increasing, so it's really not that hard to sell them. But you may get assigned once in a while. I think I've only been assigned once, and that was like right here, and I got assigned on like one contract. Because I sold them on the dip while IV was going up, and it just kept dipping. No problem, Harley. Thanks, Eddie. My average grocery bill has jumped 40% a year. That sounds about right. 30%, 30% inflation. You heard it here first. Yeah, Spy goes to like 415 a user. There's a few other ones that do. I think there's a list of them you can Google. I think VIX options trade till 415 as well. Yeah, I talked about Bank of America in the beginning. Maybe. Unlikely. I feel like they'd get bailed out. Blaming COVID for difficulties and get some sort of government funding. But I mean, there are banks that stand to profit pretty greatly from B of A failing. I've heard that allegedly Dr. Gingerballs doesn't have a PhD. You guys think I just make up my fucking quant team of like Dans and professional bull milkers? Not that JFresh isn't one of those things, but you know. Any thoughts on the low reported FTDs SEC report for the first half of September? No. I wasn't expecting any movement in the first half. So as far as the FTDs are concerned, I mean, I was definitely looking after expiration, which unfortunately was not covered in the first half report. Postmates, I'm planning to hire a team of financial advisors. If we're approaching a crash, bear market, what sort of things should I expect them to recommend? Anything I should avoid, they would. Would suggest, but haven't entered the bear crash yet. I mean, they're mostly gonna just suggest like stable investments, bonds, like things with like long-term potential yield. Um, you probably if we still haven't crashed, or corrected, you're probably gonna want to avoid like active index ETFs, like anything tracking like the big indices, as like their stability won't be guaranteed, right? Um, you should probably do some research into like companies that historically handle depressions and recessions well. I know Luke, I think, was looking into that and doing something over on Dillionaires. There's some info in the value investments channel or people were looking into that. Maybe check that out as well. How much do you trust your quants? I trust them. I mean, they've been researching this shit with me for months, so. What if FTD doesn't show a big spike? We'll see. I mean, we expect the biggest spike to fall out on the was it the 28th? Or well, technically it's the 26th, right? Because I believe I T+2'd that date. So on the 26th, I expect the biggest spike of FTDs to come in. But we should start seeing them build from the 13th onward. And then, like, obviously, this is supposed to accelerate through these windows, right? So, if we don't see it, then, yeah, no movement till the 24th, right? But the problem with that is we're not gonna know until November, which may be already after the fact, right? That's kind of the problem with this whole scenario is you're looking for things to occur, but you don't have the data to back them up until much later. So it's kind of like being the world's slowest oscillator. Looks like someone will be the fall guy at Credit Suisse. They got raided a few hours ago. Nice. We Downs are the best bull milkers and provide a useful and thankless service to this community. True. I'll come out and thank the Dans for their efforts. It's appreciated. Looks like someone would be the fall guy. I believe futures thesis is valid. Due to the big money letting those calls expire worthless. In the event October is uneventful, will you consider change to a cash secured type of contract? Possible, but here's the thing. I mean, I still expect there to be 2 cycles, like a possibility of 2 cycles of this, right? So while I expect us to experience some sort of price fluctuation in this window, right, it may not be as great as the following one, as previously that's what happened, right? Like there was a September anomaly, and I mean, based on the price back then, it was significant, but it was just like a small event compared to the events in January. So I think I think no matter what, for this thesis, we should see something occur here. Like we should see a price increase occur. Whether that will be MOAS or not, that's hard to say. But if we see that occur here, and then they yet again fail to roll this cycle, right? So we see a repeat of this, like drop off in volume into the next roll, then we're going to see that same run occur in January that we did last year. So I think we're looking to this futures window for confirmation that an anomaly occurs when they don't have sufficient volume into the roll. Because that'll be our third point of confirmation, right? I don't think they switched to a cash secured type of contract. Also, like, if what I think is true, and they have this much short interest on GameStop packed into these contracts, I don't think that's an option. I think if they had the cash to secure it, they would have already, right? They would have just covered and gotten out of the position. We wouldn't be experiencing these price fluctuations over the last several months. I think it would just been flat and normal trading. Right? Like if GameStop didn't matter, everyone actually would have forgotten about it. How much do you love your quants? I don't know about love strong. That's a strong word. I enjoy their company. Matt Feinstein, head of blockchain for GME, just tweeted GM everyone. Okay. Hedge funds have the data about FTDs earlier than retail, or is it the same for everybody? They have ways of getting information that are better than ours, but it's pretty much the same for everyone. Is there anything that validates the possibility that you're using ISDA agreement with total return or synthetic total return swaps, or just less likely? Less likely because those are cash secured, right? So we wouldn't see an effect in the underlying a user. And since we've seen an effect every single quarter for the last 6 quarters, I mean, the confirmation I feel like is already there in the data. But what we may be seeing with this failed cycle is that there's a smaller number of like 6-month contracts and not like semi-annual contracts, right? So if this is a semi-annual spike, then, or maybe it's not, maybe this is like a quarterly spike, and then that runs into January, which is a semi-annual spike, then it may be that that's why the previous cycle worked out this way as well. Is like the anomaly that occurred last September may have only been a quarterly, and then the majority of the position is locked up in these semi-annual contracts, which would occur in July and January. If that makes sense. But, obviously there's some weight to the quarterlies because of March. Or they're all just semi-annual contracts running independently of each other. So there's multiple sets of them. Or annual. Huh. So we may find that all of the short position from January was fucking loaded out to the following year. And so January could just be huge, right? And so I'm trying to figure out a way to compartmentalize these and figure out which one is which and where they play out. So IRNT was a very solid play. Thank you. There's another similar one that's lining up. Opad. They announced a share release after close on Friday, but their price is already low. How would this go? I mean, less potential than IronNet had, right? Let me look at Opad. Yeah, I mean, not a lot of potential there. It's also a SPAC, so it's not going to go much lower, as these are like kind of cash secured. I think the place to short this was back here, right? So this is just a missed play. There's nothing there. You have $8 possible movement to the downside. It's not really worth it. I don't think they're gonna like go out of business. Like I got in on IronNet here, right? So I mean, there was room to the downside for this play. Like I had a lot of room, like all the way down back down to 10, right? And it's possibly still there. I'm still holding them. They're for November 19th. And so I still have my 25s, 20s, and 15s. What factors do you look for when choosing scanners? I think you've gone over this before, so I'm sorry to ask again. I usually test them. I prefer if they have like some sort of trial period. You can use like Google Analytics to determine how many people use it daily, like how many people go to their site every day. And that's a good way to see how many users there are, right? If the user count's really high, I would avoid them, as multiple people will be picking up on the same plays. Uh, and you know, you can always default to FinViz and learn how to set it up, and it's perfectly adequate. But it's nice to have a scanner. It saves a lot of time. I'm still doing research to try to find one, but I haven't even really gotten a chance. So anything I'm picking up is either from FinViz or just from me analyzing like the stocks that are currently that I'm currently looking at. And I don't use a scanner for every play. I rarely will play something from a scanner. It just gives me an idea of what's going on more than anything else. Like the Iron Net play just had like a lot of interest on Reddit. It ran. I knew there was, you know, downside potential there. And then also, you know, based on like their filings and the information about the company, it looked like they'd reach a level where releasing some shares and taking some cash off the table would be beneficial for them. And then we also had, you know, decline in the market as well. So there was a good bear case there. How'd you determine this? I'm using here. Is this what you're referring to? I'm using the I don't even think this is actually drawn correctly. This should be here. This just keeps moving. It's just WeBull just moving my fucking lines around. That's all it is. Or I drew it on a different time frame. Like I might have drawn it. If you draw it on like the 4 hour on WeBull, it'll shift. See? So like these are my daily lines, but if you draw them on the 4 hour, they change position, which is super annoying, and I can't figure out how to fix it. September 20th, Cohen and others buying in, hence the anomaly. No, Cohen bought it in August and December. BJets. On the yellow wedge you've drawn. Oh, okay. Covered that. Look how many dans are in this stream. I know it's ridiculous. I have no idea. That's decided visceral. That's decided internally, completely internally. So there's no way to determine what the NYSE is going to do with Citadel's DMM status. I know I'm about 9 minutes behind, guys. I just want to try to get to everyone's stuff. The B of A stuff scare off the lenders? Possibly. I also can't leave my room, but I get to watch you. Why can't you leave your room? President Darth Dan, Cardinals of Pickles of VWAP. What do we do if it's further out than an annual contract? I don't know if there's, I mean, like, very unlikely that AB would take on that kind of risk. I mean, even a semi-annual already seems like it would present far too much risk for anyone to be a counterparty to it. Yeah, pretty unlikely. But I mean, if they're using swaps and other derivatives, it's a possibility that they could kick it out far, far longer. But at that point, you're just playing the long side of GameStop, if that's the case. But it doesn't appear to be, right? Because we have all this confirmation in the price movement every quarter that's indicating that that is not the case at all. This is a very unmanageable position. If they were kicking this shit out like 10 years, we wouldn't be seeing any effect in the underlying. This isn't like I don't care what the news says. None of this shit is retail pumping the stock, right? I don't think it was. The movement on this one was actually um like just as strong as the previous quarter, but they also rolled the previous quarter, right? So you had this spike that occurred, right? And the value was higher, but they were also rolling. So we had all this volume from the roll plus the spike in quarterly options. This time, I think we just saw the effect of quarterly options. There was no rolling at all. Because if they'd rolled, they couldn't start shorting again till after the roll date. And they began shorting far before then. Which has only happened on the cycles where we don't get sufficient volume, right? And that might have been for a lot of reasons. It might have been like the pickup in retail interest. It could have been, Ryan Cohen registering large numbers of shares in 2 blocks. The Dans are here because we trust you and your wise words. Oh, wise pickle man. Thank you. Oh shit, dude. I'm sorry to hear that. Is SPACs on Fidelity safe? I have no idea what that is. So October 18th last year was an anomaly based on field futures rule. FTDs buying from September. That's what we're waiting for, the 13th, 24th, 28th of this year. Yes, I believe so. I believe we saw the FTDs start piling up. So Ryan Cohen bought in back here, right? And I think that caused FTDs to start piling up on the stock. And then we saw the effects of that play out over this period here where the anomaly occurred, right? And then Ryan Cohen bought again, and we saw an even bigger spike in the anomaly, right? Which was January. And that also occurred within the same exact window as the previous quarter. And so we're looking for this quarter to replicate September or January of last year. And since the price is so much higher now than it was, there's a possibility that the upwards price movement could be very extreme. And even in this case, it was extreme, right? The stock went from a low here of $5 to a high of 16, which is like a 200% increase. But you do that now, if you see a 200% increase in GameStop now, I mean, that's significant, right? That's far higher than that cap at 350 that we've run into multiple times. And also, high enough that it puts us in a range that could be, margin call territory for many of the short hedge funds. So somehow a user that somehow when I'm talking about them being internalized, I'm talking about the creator of the contract also being the counterparty to that contract. I think, based on the research that I've done, that it is within certain market makers' powers to do that. And what that would do, the benefit of doing that, the benefit of internalizing it would be there would be no exposure to the market, there would be no reporting, no one else would know, right? The only way to identify that would be to have like internal paperwork that, you know, proved that the position had been created and, you know, rolled over into this contract. Also, if they report that position, they can margin against it, which would make sense as to why they're able to short after the roll, because then they renew the contract, which bumps their margin again, and then they can short back down. So what you're saying is RC buys in again in December, January. Got it. Thanks. Well, interestingly, and this is why I shifted my position a little bit on DRS, was that I see a potential for DRS in this, right? As apes are registering shares, we could see that same FTD kind of crush occur that occurred back then. Or it could accelerate one that's already ongoing, which is, I suspect, what happened with Cohen's initial buy-in. So I don't know if Cohen will buy in again. I don't think he has enough money. Honestly, like, we kind of fucked Ryan Cohen in a sense by buying and holding, because the stock never got back to a level where he could purchase those shares he needed to complete his holdings that it was agreed upon in his merger or his acquisition. And so now I think it's priced out of a possible realm where he can buy into it, or buy a significant chunk. He can buy maybe a little, but, and also, you know, the share offerings reduce his percentage holdings. So he's not incentivized to offer more shares, but also, you know, it's difficult for him to buy in with the price so high. Wind Moon asking for a friend. We'll see. Remember, all of this is still just a theory. It looks good, but it could be completely fucking wrong. I might be an idiot. I don't know. Because the data that I would need to confirm it 100% isn't there. And I didn't start telling you guys about all this initially because I thought I could maybe find a way to prove it. And as it became more and more apparent that I was never going to have access to the data I needed, I decided that the best course of action would be to inform people. Maybe other people will come along and find more. But I feel like it's better that that knowledge is public. Even though I understand that I could take a hit to my credibility by, you know, setting dates or predicting things. But the point of all of this is to do that. So it's counterintuitive for me not to. Use unsettled funds in a cash account to exercise an option, or could that be a GFE? You should be able to. You should be able to exercise an option with unsettled funds, Vorian. Selling that asset that you bought with the unsettled funds, that's another story. Yes, a user. Since RC is an insider, his shares would be locked up and pulled from the DTC. Not necessarily in CS. There are other transfer agents that offer a similar service that, you know, bigger players might use. But most likely with CS, as they are the registered transfer agent for GameStop, or they are the transfer agent for GameStop. So it is highly likely that, yes, his shares are locked up in CS, but there is a possibility that he has them locked up elsewhere. super unlikely though. So the effect be more muted though due to the at the money offering. There hasn't been an at the money offering. Average month. Are you talking about the previous ones? No. Those weren't significant enough to even stop this. I mean, so yeah, I guess potentially the run up that we saw may have only been due to the at the money offering, but the volume seems so much lower than I was expecting, right? For them to roll, that the at the money offering didn't really cover that. You're only talking 5 million shares, maybe 10 with ETFs, but I expected far more volume for them to successfully facilitate that rollover, as they had needed the previous 2 quarters. So yeah, even though we had the rebalances, I don't think that was enough stock. It could have been, and we may just see a roll cycle, right? I think that would be a good determination if we see our regular roll cycle play out going into December. So if we see the spike on 11/24 into the volume necessary for them to roll the contract in December, that might mean that the at the money offering was sufficient for them to roll the previous September quarter. It's a lot. I said 200% spike visceral, but yeah. I just did the first episode of Houston to my wife. She finally understood me. Awesome. How do you think that 350 cap exists? Do you think we could breach it this month? Why do you think the 350 cap exists? Well, first of all, you don't have a lot of FOMO pressure at that price. It's so volume dies off, which gives them an ability to short it effectively, and that tends to drop the price back more into a range where retail is willing to buy or institutions are. And so it's kind of the upper limit of where we have buy side pressure. Also, there's a lot of selling that occurs at that point, right? That's what forms a cup and handle in market psychology, is you have the first test of this resistance, people sell. Then you have a second test of that resistance, and people are holding sell because it's the new high, especially people that bought in here. And then the third test, there's no paper hands left, right? So you smash through. But yeah, it's part market psychology, part, probably trying to prevent margin call as well. Does he need more than 9 million shares? I mean, it's beneficial for him to have more than that. I think a stock split is really the answer to him getting more, because it would lower the price per share. But he doesn't, but he does to really cement his position as chairman and prevent other hostile takeovers. It would be beneficial for him to get his 20% out. Currently, the only place I see that happening for him is after MOAS. Or over time. Small purchases over a long period of time. That's a good price for Moonwind's CCs. I mean, probably anything above that upper band of the wedge that we're in right now. But don't tell him that. He's not a member, so we don't have to worry about him finding that out for weeks. Yeah, he can buy. I think he can buy almost double what he has. He can buy more than 3 million shares. I think he still has like 6 million left he's allowed to buy. 6 or 8 or 7 point something. Sorry, it's like 7 point something million shares he's still allowed to purchase. It might be more now though because of the at the money offering. I have to check that out again. He doesn't have to buy the rest of his position, but he's allowed to. And so yeah, there's obviously an advantage in owning more, right? If I buy GSC2, GS2C, does that reduce the float of GME? No, they're separate tickers. I think total retail holdings is still increasing, and how much? By how much per quarter? I don't know if it's still increasing. I think individual holders are still increasing their positions, but you know, there's people that bail too, right? You have to remember a lot of people in this, not a lot, but some of the people in this have invested far more than they can afford to invest, right? And these periods of drawn out downward price action really put the pressure, I think, on those people the most. So, you know, there's always going to be a net loss of holders over time. But, you know, that's also made up on the other side by people who continue to buy more. So I think there's an increase in percent retail holdings, but it's not as fast as you might think. Have you noticed almost dead middle of each cycle, there's a bounce up in price, like in the middle of the last 30 runs? I think Jen was near the middle of cycles. It was dead center. I have Hacksaw. That's what the whole thesis is. Hello, Mahodala. Are you still expecting the end of October run up? Yes. Have that's all we've talked about. Someone just posted a screenshot of the TD. I don't. Oh God. Where's Jimmy's current price plus 250 because that's what their market maker does? Can MMs determine that? Possible, but it sounds like they're clearing, not their market maker. I don't know. It sounds like bullshit. That doesn't make sense. I mean, maybe yeah, $250 of within $250 of the current trading price, but that should be a percentage, not a fixed value. A user. So that aspect doesn't make sense to me. No, because he's allowed contractually to buy those shares, Mohidala. If RC theoretically bought the shares that he can, would he kickstart MOAS? Yeah, but I mean, he doesn't have the money. He'd have to get like a big loan or something. Would insiders attempt to trade some of their positions during MOAS? I mean, they can't. They're locked up. They're not allowed to sell without notice. Warden bailed. Yeah, I mean, it happens. People bailed. Life happens, you know? You can't. It could be an emergency. There's a million different reasons that, you know, someone might not be able to diamond hand, you know? And that's unfortunate, but just a fact. If the shorts drive it low enough, RC will just go shopping. I mean, yeah. He may have a standing order at a certain price point already that, you know, we're unaware of. I would suspect that would be true. So wait, I shouldn't have mortgaged my house or more GameStop. I mean, if you can afford to pay that mortgage and you can hold as long as possible, then I'm sure no matter what, it will pay off in the end, right? I think the problem that we see on that front is that there's people that maybe put all of their savings into GameStop, right? And then something comes up in their life where they need access to that capital, and obviously they've tied it up in an investment, so the only way to get it is to you know unwind that position. I don't think it's common. I think most people are holding on as tight as they can, but 9 months is it's a long period of time. Wait, Moonwind isn't a member? No, he's a cheap fuck. But he wants my advice every goddamn day. Of course, this is entertainment and educational channel and only for those purposes, but he still asks for it, which is annoying. I always found that dumb. Nobody should ever invest more than they're willing and able to lose. Yeah, that's true. Nobody should gamble with more than they're willing to lose either. But yet, people go bankrupt in Vegas every day. We'll be doing a few final training courses in real time to help execute our exits. Spirit has been extremely beneficial, as would FOMO. Probably not, Sean. I don't think the FOMO, like high volatility stage, will be a good stage to really show anything, right? Because the volatility is going to pick up massively. And so there's really nothing to learn from that. Have you decided on a new place? I applied for a couple more this weekend, but we'll see how that pans out. Money market fund. They have other types of accounts that you can move your money into, Johnny A. You don't. I don't think that's required. It depends on how you set up your account. Like if it's F Cash or whatever, they have like some other options when you first open a Fidelity account, and that'll determine where your money is moved. Some of those are money market accounts, but those are FDIC insured accounts. It's just as reliable as any other account. I have no idea. Fascinating. I'd expect somewhere between like I'd expect the FOMO stage to really occur if we're trading volume between 300 and 350. Um, that's when we could really start to see that kick off. But as we know, the price needs to get up pretty high to at least margin call some of those bigger entities that we're aware of being short on the stock. Do you wear the VWAP hat when touring apartments? Of course not. If I did, I'd already have a place. No, I mean the biggest problem is a lot of them are just not what I need, um, space wise, and you know, uh, a big issue for me is I have to have fiber internet, um, and a lot of places just don't have that. So it really limits the areas I can look. And you don't really know till you like look at the house, and then I have to like determine everything else is sufficient, and then like find out like if I find a great one, inevitably it only has like shitty like Comcast or cable internet. Or the owners just don't know, right? Because like nobody fucking has any clue what you're talking about when you bring that up. Just you guys. It's my indoor only hat. Your current place has fiber but no roof. I mean, most of New York City has fiber internet. There's a few neighborhoods that don't, but they're the fewer and fewer. It's a I've traded on cable internet before. It's a difference. It might seem like insignificant, but it's not. Especially when day trading. Like it more than pays for itself. And usually you'll have like an option to get like a fiber line run, but then you run into like landlords that are like, I don't want you, putting wires in my building or whatever, and then I gotta find a different place. So I, it's difficult. Otherwise, I would have moved out of here a while ago. What's your thoughts on BBIG? I remember you said you had some calls. No, I sold a call on it because I had some stock that went down. But I think it'll run again. I think it just went down because of market action. So I'm just gonna sell calls on it till it runs sufficiently. And then I'll, buy that contract back and sell the stock or the underlying. Or I'll just, let my shares get called away, which is fine. Doctor says I don't get enough fiber. I have looked into Prague. I was actually looking at it earlier. It looks like it has room to the upside. I don't know the best way to play that because the options pool is pretty limited. Unless they release more options tomorrow, um, it could be squeezing. It's got a nice bounce back. There's a resistance at 4, but really only like that $2, like significantly only that $2 resistance on the way up. So it doesn't have a lot of market history either, which is problematic. But yeah, I think if it can cross 2, it's got a pretty good shot at running up to at least $4 or $5. So I might be messing around with that this week. We'll see. But I'll put that in the country club tonight. I have a couple things for this week. Although with the market choppiness, I think it's a bad week to be trading. And that's gonna happen. I don't really know how to address that with like the pickles picks. So many of you love having them, but there are weeks where trading's just not the best thing to be doing. Um, and I have to find something to like fill that gap. Any updates on Party? Oh yeah, so I bought some of that. It's doing good. I think it's just like a seasonal play. Dr. K brought it up. It's down a little, but I think it can bounce. I think the previous seasons it's also done well, like going into October. Actually, it ran super hard in November. wonder if it's dead. I only have a couple calls on it, but I did not notice it tanking. It might just be, it might have been coming down with the market. No, it's not tanking. What the fuck is going on here? Oh, it just hit like a low. This could have just been market action. Might not even be a bad time to buy into it. I think this has about like 15, 20 more days of potential upside. But yeah, I guess their business just picks up for the October quarter. It seemed like a fun play. I was interested if it had a short position on it of any significance, which I haven't really looked into. I didn't do a lot of research. I think the calls were $10, so I just bought a few. But it looks, yeah, it looks like it's coming back from that low of 7. So it could have just been the market downturn kind of affected it. Thoughts on the theory that BOA is holding the big stanky bag from Citadel? It's possible. No way to tell till it happens, though. So we could speculate on it, but it doesn't really matter. If B of A goes under and all of a sudden GameStop goes to the moon without really anything else happening in the market, then that would be a good indicator. But otherwise, it's just something I prefer to avoid, which is like just digging into these like conspiracy theories about the market mechanics, because there's fucking no way to prove it. Did a poll recently on what you should teach. What are the results? Oh, does it not show you guys the results from that? Well, it wasn't teach. It was just like I felt like I could, after I move, primarily, I'm thinking I want to do something else with the channel, like add a little more value to the memberships. And it looked like Pickle's Picks video DDs were voted the highest. Not a lot of votes. I guess an okay number of votes over on that. Followed by a tie with options strategy videos and technical indicator and instructional videos. So, and then value and long-term investing had some interest, but not much. It was very split. So maybe even after I move, I could do it like, I could do one, like maybe I'll do like one video DD of like Pickle's Picks, like the play I have the most confidence in. And then every week I'll do like one of the other 3 topics like weekly as like a video. So like one week I could do like option stuff or long-term stuff, or you know, like technical indicators, things like that, and then like just rotate them since the interest is so evenly split, right? Give me those videos to edit. I will, as soon as I record one. Cool, Daddy. Thanks, Johnny. I appreciate that. But it's just like also like curiosity on my own part. Like, can I make these videos? Is that even like a thing that I really want to do? I mean, like I have the live stream already, right? Which is an unreal amount of content if you think about it from like that perspective. Because it's like 7.5 hours a day, which is, you know, more than any like YouTube uploader does in a week. And so, but at the same time, you know, I am interested in like creating some of these other videos maybe, or just like, because there's so many questions on them also, I'd like to be able to refer people to them. And I know, like, I tell you just like, oh, go look at YouTube, like there's 50 videos for option strategies. I feel like a lot of people want one from me, which is weird, but the membership isn't meant to have value. We do it for the big dum dum. I don't know if that's true for everyone, but I do appreciate that you guys just do it to support the channel for the most part. It means a lot. Good to know, KO. I figured you would be. You and Windmill Willie are gonna be the two that just like watch all of them as much as possible. Cooking stream, but it wasn't an option. They only let me do 4 values. I had some other ideas too that I wanted to put in the poll, but yeah, they only give me like 4 possible values. Us pigeon wheels demand above and beyond, or may settle for a shirtless DD. I gotta feel like you're gonna make a big comeback post MOS. You're gonna miss us. Hopefully, buffer and streaming from a real hot tub. We'll see, Johnny. That's a good point, Purple Hulk. You rang. I know, but it's also like a user. It's still things that like I want to provide for you guys. Like I know the major. There's plenty of Dillionaires that aren't even on the Discord. Like I understand that like for a lot of you it's just to provide support for the channel, and that's huge, don't get me wrong, but like I also want to just have those things so I can be like, this is what I think about this strategy, or like have my own take on them, you know, because like you can read the books and stuff, but experience can teach you different, right? And I feel like there's probably some value in that, and I don't mind offering that up, especially as it doesn't like give away anything of like how I make my money. Um, but it can help you develop your own styles of trading, which I think is probably a benefit to everyone, right? When feet pigs, damage reduction for the 3rd time. Yes, it was asked by you. I'm still expecting the stock to run in mid to end of October. That is my current working thesis. Nothing has changed. I could make a second channel about cooking. That'd be fun. I would say it's the only thing I like more than making money. There was probably a different life where I grew up wealthier and ended up a chef. That wasn't an option for me, but it would have been cool. Except I don't really like cooking the same shit over and over again for lots. I've worked in kitchens. It's not my deal. Yeah, just Decky, you could just go like link it in the Discord or something if you found like a options video that's valuable to people. I don't care. I just don't want people promoting like Charlie's vids crazy conspiracy theories, because then I have to go like every time something like that happens, it's just utter bullshit and hypes everyone up. I have to like spend like days to weeks being like, no, this is bullshit. And then, you know, a month later, everyone's like, oh, that was bullshit. I wish someone had told us. And that's the only thing that I get pissed about with like putting like YouTube videos in the chat. And the bot is supposed to block videos from certain channels, but not others. It just doesn't do it effectively. And I think it's mostly just the sentiment that I'm not going to use my platform to promote bullshit or what I consider to be bullshit, right? You're not trying to sell us anything. No merch, no front running, just TA, quasi narcissism, and a low volume microphone. I do my best to make sure my microphone's not loud enough. It's difficult. So I'm glad you appreciate that. Puts on go-go for when it comes down from the run, consolidates. I think it could keep running, or does it look like mostly peaked? Start heading down next week. Let's check it out. Go. What the fuck is this in after hours? It spiked to a new all-time high in after hours, which is a bit weird. It may not be done. I would look for some sufficient resistance, at least some downside. Like right now, it looks super fucking bullish. I don't know if this is something I'd want to be actively short on. If you see like a hard resistance start forming, maybe there's some potential to the downside. I don't know if it'll break below 9. I mean, this run is this run here is really strong. Like clearly, the stock was undervalued down here, and the market has stated that this is its value, right? And you have a solid trend there, and then it's breaking to the upside of an uptrend, which is it doesn't look weak. I wouldn't play it, right? Because there's no it's already testing that lower resistance level here at 20. If it breaks to the upside of that, there's not even a lot of significant resistance between there and like the high 30s. So it could probably, honestly, like this may be a good long play, if anything. IV's not even that high yet. So like, huh. I know you've got puts on it, but I don't know if that's looking so great right now. Is this one of the D-SPACs, Renzer? Can you fill me in on that? When you break it down, Pigeon Whale member divided by hours spent on stream is quite equitable. Plus, we get to call people pores. Bullish bonus. Fair enough. I gotta guess, I spend like $80 a month on subscriptions that I basically don't even watch, between like Netflix and Hulu and Disney and HBO and all that shit. And so like I've just never like been a member of or even really watched any streamers. So I don't even know how the economy for streaming works. Or I know a lot of you guys watch the stream 7 hours a day. And so I guess, yeah, there's value in that. It just feels weird to like, for that. I don't know. It's hard to explain, I guess. First rule of the cult: don't talk about the cult. That's not true. I think the first rule of a cult is trying to get other people into the cult. Like for cults, this is not a cult, obviously. There's just no question that this is a financial education channel, and not a cult or over sexualized pickle memes. Yeah, no problem. Damage rejection. And how to, so can you talk about October 29th calls and how to avoid theta destruction? I don't like October 29th as a date. I like November 19th and December. I really like December 17th. For the 29th, like I would buy them after this week. If I was so for my short-term ones for the 29th, I probably wouldn't even buy those. I'd probably buy it for like yeah, I'd probably still buy on the 19th. The dates I'm looking at right now are the 19th and April 14th, 2022. Those are the ones I'm most interested in. Maybe January's also. How are those priced? Those aren't so bad. But these would be like further out of the money, right? My closer to the money ones would be here on the 19th. And I'd probably be looking at like the 200 to maybe like 350 range. Maybe some 800s for fun, just for like the IV in case it doesn't run through 350. Or in case it does. But that way, if nothing happens significant by October 30th, right, then I still have some value in those and I can sell them and then move that position out further, right? I've already learned a ton from you about short-term trading, but sadly, until post-MOS, I can't employ most of it. Well, I mean, that just means that this is a good opportunity to paper trade, right? I can't really express enough the benefits of paper trading. I know it's boring and just challenge yourself, find ways to make it interesting because it is worth every hour spent doing it. Can I be a guest on your cooking show? I'm making Sloppy Joe stuffed bao buns toasted in garlic shallot oil. That sounds really good, actually. Do you dip them in spicy mustard? Jerking it with gherkinit. What's up, Sean Daniels? Thanks for the re. Name your restaurant VWAP. When you hide from your family to listen on a live Sunday service, it's definitely a cult. We spend more time with you than our friends and family. We're the family now. Oh boy. Well, thank you, Chicken Tender Daddy. Can you talk about Theta Decay if GameStop doesn't run by the 22nd? Wait, did I cover that one already? Yeah, I think that's pretty covered. Because you're playing if you're playing October 29th for like a 27th run up, like that's super risky. Like your theta's gonna be your options are gonna be destroyed on theta. So if you have November or December calls, you're gonna be in those are gonna hold that value much longer. So if nothing happens, right? Then you can hold on to them. And December is even great, and January because you can make money on that expected end of November run up as well from the 24th. I keep the stream on Discord, try to learn more about how to trade, and also daydream design indoor playgrounds for my dogs. Awesome, Luna. Hey, good bean. How you doing? That letter. Guys, this isn't a cult. It's a community, a very special community with a glorious leader. Praise VWAP. You guys are ridiculous. Paper trading is fun. I made 6.5K today. I don't think there's some doing it. Awesome. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm still like a few minutes behind on chat, I think. Paper Trade was a better video game than anything I've ever played. I did it March 2020 to December 2020 before my wife let me open a day trading account. I mean, it is a video game, right? It's just like any other video game you want to be good at. You just do it until you're good at it, and then you compete. God, GameStop just looks good. Like over time, this is a nice stock. B of A gonna get wrecked. I talk about that earlier. We'll see. I don't know. I don't think $1 trillion is gonna be the thing that fucking kills B of A. Are you playing the chant at the beginning of Sunday service? If not, do you? I did today. Bissell Records. If you go to the beginning of the stream, the chant is played. Sorry, I'm on 2x trying to catch up. Just an idea, but rather than doing separate videos for pull items, you could focus on one from 9 to 9:15 before getting into the daily live stream. Have a mod cut it. Yeah, I thought about that, Charlie, but I don't know. Maybe that might be a way to do it. The mornings are tough because I have other things that I'm doing in the market, like before I start the stream. Like sometimes I'm like trading and like analyzing shit, and so I don't know if I'd have time in that window. I'm also like trying to get breakfast, coffee, get everything set up because I gotta then sit down for 7.5 hours, and then at the end of the stream I'm just exhausted, which I'm still getting used to. In terms of me going to college, so I wouldn't start until January, end of January, which is the beginning of my semester. The problem is if I don't make a decision by mid-November, I can't get a refund, and I've already paid. So I'm still thinking about that. I'm accepted into the program either way. I can push it out if I want to. But I also, you know, thought that this would be a good time to do it, as it takes a couple years. Um, I'm not sure right now. I'm still thinking about it. I know I'm running out of time. But there's also a possibility that I can just take my courses after 5, which is after the stream. They have a nighttime session for like professionals, who are also enrolled, and so that might be a better option for me to like kind of try to do both. But that could be hard too. I don't know. I mean, the work doesn't look that bad, but there's some projects and stuff that could really eat up a lot of time. But I'm far more invested in GameStop than I am in like continued education, which I don't really know how much value I'm gonna get out of, besides like just another piece of paper. I'm going for a walk right now so I can listen in. Well, at least it's getting you up and exercising, so that's a plus. Not a cat, yeah. Interesting. Except after he said that, he definitely had his fucking shares in E Trade. So I know this is heresy to say, but I might have to sell a handful of shares to be able to buy the November options. I need to leverage my position. Not a lot of free capital. Uh, that's tough because it's a theory, right? I can't say I support that decision. Um, but I mean, ultimately, you're gonna do whatever you're gonna do, right? Regardless of what I have to say about it. But it may not run hard, so be careful with that because we still don't know. I'll put a YouTube link to a video on how to trade options under text channels general chat. I'm not interested in shilling for one. I think this content has real merit. Okay. Not a problem, just Decky. Taking care of children is tough work. Probably. That's awesome, man. But let's keep the cooking Discord going. Yeah, absolutely. That's fun over there. I like it. That's where I go when I don't want to think about GameStop. I mean, I would get a lot out of having the degree I'm going for if I if I complete it. But it's also like I only really get a lot out of an industry I'm not super interested in working in. Like I've been there, I've done that. I don't like it. I can't see myself being at like a hedge fund for any significant period of time. And so like the more I think about it, the more it's just like what's the fucking point? Like I already make trading far in excess of any promised salary that I would have gotten from my initial degree. And most of the stuff that I'm learning, I already know. I'm just going there to get like proof of that knowledge, which I feel like is just a waste of my time and money. Um it's I don't know, it's tough. But then at the same time, there's the value of, you know, that piece of paper tells other people that you know what the fuck you're talking about, right? Instead of just trusting you. You're gonna get many pieces of paper. I hope so. That's the plan. Uh, Pickle Financial is not currently accepting any applications, Bendy Shaft, but you will be one of the first I let know. I'm about to drop 6K on a likely 30K per year raise. You work in tech, Evan? Oh, okay, cloud security stuff. Yeah, I feel like their system of doing things is more efficient. But there is no higher education for trading, really. I mean, you can do like advanced statistics and like get into like mathematics and modeling and stuff like that. But I mean, ultimately, like none of it really teaches you to trade. And there's jobs that come along with that. They pay well, but do they pay better? I don't think so. It would kind of just, I'd be getting it as like a fallback. And I don't like the idea of that. That was a response to saying you're tired once the stream is over. Oh, yeah, I don't do that, so that's not a concern for me, Smoke Smokes. GoGo equals provider of in-flight broadband internet service for commercial and business aircraft. Yeah, I'm too early on the puts. It might be, Renzer. It might be a bit early on the puts. On Sunday, with you now doing 2 streams, are you setting everything up and taking it all down twice, or leaving it up and squeezing past the green screen? Yeah, I'm just leaving it up all day. Sundays have become very hard with the like weekly DD and the double streams, but until I find a place, that's how it's gonna have to be, because I need that full day to get shit done. And even that full day is barely enough time. But a lot of people have, told me that like I should stop wasting my time with the Reddit shit. But I disagree. I still feel like the ideas I have have enough merit that they should have exposure to the whole community. Regardless of whatever the sentiment to me over there might be at the time, because it shifts. What's considered cheap versus expensive for long-term options? On GameStop, if the IV's under, 120%, it's like a discount. Or at least for the last 9 months, it's been a discount. Can you just buy the textbooks? I mean, yeah. I have them, actually. I was supposed to start in September, and I pushed it out, and then I likely push it out again. There's a cost associated with me pushing it out like that, but it's not significant. They're pretty flexible because a lot of the people in the program, already work at, corporations and hedge funds and stuff like that. And so, yeah, they understand that, people have real lives outside of the degree program. House money manager. So she never found out. I mean, I don't really have a problem plowing through it. That doesn't bother me. I'm usually okay at school stuff. We more coffee talk in the Discord. Interesting. What is this cooking Discord? Can I join? It's in the Dillionaires chat. Have you guys looked at all the channels? There's a lot of channels in there. I opened like a couple new ones last week to see how those would pan out. Also, guys, please try to take advantage of the DD channel. If you have a thesis on something, it also gives me time to look at it throughout the course of the week, and maybe in more real time than waiting to like the weekend streams to talk to me about it, because time is always a factor in the market, right? So write up your DD about it. I think just follow the rules, like but then I can like weigh in on it when I see it, as opposed to like waiting for you to get a question across to me. Greensill fund collapse. Interesting. January puts on party. I don't think there's, honestly, like, I'm just fucking around with the party play. I don't think it has a lot of value or merit or range. So consider that before you do anything with it. Like, the range is garbage. It's like between $7 and $11. I mean, it doesn't move that much. Or 5 and 11. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's money to be made on stocks like that, but its volume is low. I don't have a lot of confidence in it doing anything, but I've only spent like $100 on options there. So it's just like, if I make my money back, I'm happy. If not, it was just like a fun thing to test out. Seasonal retail bumps. It's like, I know if people got a degree because they felt obligated to, then wound up back in school 10 years later for something else. Don't do it if you're not sure. I mean, it's an advancement of like the knowledge and degree I have already. Like it's not without value, Trash Dan. It's just like it's not something I know if I'm in the right place to do right now. But head back to work tomorrow now the wife is in remission. This cult has been a welcome distraction for months. Thanks, Osnady, and I'm glad to hear that about your wife, man. I really am. The go-go thing is my fault. I was too early. I'm curious though, if you look at the 13F Citadel and Sus and some others have big net long positions, would they pump dump? Possible. You have to remember when those market makers have big long positions like Citadel, Saks, a lot of that is they're playing the FOMO, right? They're making money off of people being interested in the IV spikes. So they're just selling calls and puts, right? And their position is purely to secure this money making opportunity, at which the end of they can pump and sell, but you don't know how long they want to carry that out. And that's AMC, right? That's exactly what AMC is. Is AMC is this big, they've gotten a lot of retail interest into one stock and they're able to, manipulate the price enough that they can, create constant a constant stream of income from the options contracts they're selling. Yeah, also I know Reddit is how many of you or all of you found my stream, right? What's the go if it were a Long Johnson? Is there actually a cooking Discord? Because I'm in. There is a cooking Discord. It's in the Dillionaires Country Club. But my DD is embarrassing. Don't be embarrassed by it, right? Because like I can help you with that. I can weigh in on it and be like, hey, try to look into this aspect or this other aspect of the company, or analyze like what technicals you guys are looking at and things like that. And like it gives me a lot more points than just be like, oh, here's a ticker, look at it, because I have nothing there, right? Like I have no background on the stock, there's no information, and then I'm just like doing that thing Matt Kors does where it's like, oh, this is a resistance and this is the support and looks I don't know, but like if I have something to go off of, that gives me a better insight into it, right? And more eyes on the market is a far better scanner than anybody could ever build. So there's value to everybody involved, in addition to the value to you individually and learning how to analyze stocks and come up with plays and find opportunity. Are there any channels for Long Johnsons? No, there are not. So the private Discord is only for the Dillionaires. I do intend to start coming out with videos that will be available to the Long Johnson members and up. But currently there's only the members only stream. And that'll be happening. That's like a further time frame. I'm not doing that until after I move. But yeah, right now the Discord is separate from that. And that's primarily to make it cost prohibitive and keep the number of people in it reduced. Although I don't know how cost prohibitive it actually is, as it's getting quite big in the Dillionaires Discord. But the number of participants is still smaller. I haven't connected Discord to YouTube. Oh, you have to do that. You should connect, even if you are a Long Johnson, connect your Discord to YouTube anyway. If you ever do decide to upgrade, it'll be automatic that you get added to those channels. And then also I can tag you as Long Johnson in notifications and stuff. Not me. I found you via trade spotting. Interesting. I wonder what he's up to. I know Rocky was in the stream the other day. I got to reach back out to them. I've just been so busy with shit that I don't see where I have time to do that. Would the Theta Decay negate the IV and intrinsic values? Not necessarily. It depends on how far out of the money you are, a user. And how hard we run, right? Like the price increase per day is going to have a huge effect on IV. So if we run real slow on super low volume, it could. But if we run fast and hard on a lot of volume, then, IV will spike. I found you organically by Google searching pickle perm, and I know how to gamble on options. Awesome. How I make money next week for more GME options. Well, we'll see. I'm looking at stuff, but the market looks unstable. This week may not be a good one for a lot of trades, but I have a couple ideas on things that look interesting. Well, la di da. I'm not a monocle wearing Dillionaires. I'm sorry. Like how the pigeon whale was cost prohibitive. I just thought that was going to be like a joke. I didn't actually expect people to sign up with it. And then I had to come up with this like elitist status on the fly. But thank you guys for those of you that are pigeon whales who just simply pay extra to lord it over the pores. It is appreciated. Not that the rest of you aren't. Just it's very nice because it comes with nothing, right? It's just curated days history on Dillionaires in like 10 minutes. Good luck doing that in a normal channel. Yeah, that's true too. And that's the reason is because I want the Dillionaires Discord to be focused and not just all over the fucking place like the general chats. I heard Moonwind's selling cover calls on his house. Did you ever have that combo with Rocky? No, I haven't. Covered calls might not be bad if you can find a price point that you're willing to sell them at. IV is still kind of low. You could wait for an IV spike and then try to sell them ahead of the curve. That could be profitable. Because then, you could probably make a lot in premiums, maybe even enough to cover your initial position. Because of a healthy amount of peer pressure to chug rosé. Well, thanks, Chubb. I appreciate that. Don't even leave the non-Dillionaire channels anymore. It's too busy. It can get pretty crazy. Are you throwing frag in with the rest of the chats? I mean, I'm not sure if Frag is a member. I haven't seen him in a long time. Yeah, I don't know what happened to Frag. Frag's gone. Sell cover calls during the run. That's a way to do it. Yeah, I mean, especially if you can do it and cover your base position, and you still just own the stock if you have, some confidence in it doing something relevant. All right, guys, that's it for today. I will see you all, well, bright and early tomorrow morning, I'm guessing. Thank you guys all for the support. I really appreciate it. And I will see you tomorrow. And don't forget to tune in for tonight's DD stream and the weekly DD. I'll post it all over in the Reddit later today. Thank you guys. Have a great night.